I am so excited to be sitting down to film this video. This is a video I have probably dreamed about filming, or maybe not dreamed about filming, but like planned out in my head since I first realized that baby names I love but won't be using was a thing you could do on YouTube. So hi there, my name's Alana and my husband and I are expecting a baby girl in February. It is middle of November, so I'm 7 months pregnant, and I thought that I would film this video earlier in pregnancy, but like we are finally down to, I think we have the name, but we also have one backup. There's been a lot of discussion, a lot of conversation, and I've definitely learned that my husband and I have different styles. So finding a name that fits our two styles has been really interesting. Anyways, really quickly here on Classy on the Run, we often talk about high-end luxury makeup, handbags, beauty, all those kind of things. But as I enter this new chapter of my life, we've been talking about pregnancy. We're going to talk about babies and newborns and all those things. So it's a little mesh of like luxury and what's going on in my life right now, which happens to be pregnancy and eventually baby. So if you are a new mom, then definitely follow along and join me on this journey. Love names. I love names. If you are more of a makeup or handbag person, thanks for also watching this video. We still have lots of that content on the way. And yeah, if you are an experienced mom, maybe you're starting to think about motherhood. I know for myself that when I'm watching videos on YouTube, I'm always watching one step ahead. So like when I had a boyfriend, I was watching videos about people planning their weddings. When I was planning my weddings, I was watching like videos about people who were like starting their families. Like I always viewed it as kind of like a research tool to see what's that gonna be like, and to kind of fantasize and daydream. And guys, I just have to tell you, when it comes to names, I'm that kid. I'm not that kid, I'm 30. I was that kid who was like, I'm gonna write a book. And I had all these like 3-chapter, intending to be like, multi-book that would make me like a famous author or something. And then I have a movie deal like J.K. Rowling or Lord of the Rings or something like that. Anyways, that didn't happen. And now I sit in my bedroom and talk about makeup. Or not my bedroom, like my closet. And then during the day I do things with taxes. So, same difference. But I had all these kind of like book sketches written out. I had all these names that I'd love, or I'd read a book and I'd fall in love with a name. And like, so I was thinking like, what am I going to name my kids? But something I never thought about naming a child is that generally speaking, you have another person who you have to negotiate with, who also maybe has thought about these things and who also cares. So with that being said, I'm sharing with you guys 10 baby names that we love but won't be using. Some of these names are, one in particular is a favorite of my husband, some are a favorite of mine, and some are like close but not quite there. So I've written out a little list to make sure I don't miss anything. So I'm going to start with the parameters. We're having a baby girl. I really like feminine names. I value femininity. I have a YouTube channel where we talk about makeup and purses. My background is pink. This should come as a surprise to nobody. That being said, my husband doesn't like vowels at the end of a name, so that's a problem if you, like me, want like a beautiful, lyrical, like flowing name. I would say that he really wants a strong name. Like when he's thinking about the name for our daughter, he's thinking, is she a corporate lawyer? Is she a CEO? Is she a senior VP at a major entity? Is she a cabinet minister? Is she a mayor? Is she, he's thinking all these like lofty goals for her. And like, I want that for her too. I mean, I want that for me. But he wants a name that's going to really suit her in the boardroom. We both agree that there are lots of really cute names for a baby, but you're not naming a baby. You're naming an adult, or someone who for the majority of their life will be an adult. So that's kind of some grounding information. I would say generally we value timeless over trendy. I would say that we're both reasonably, conservative. We value our families. We value names that have some historicity, some ties to family. So that was really something that we were thinking a lot about. I'd say that we're not like top 10 people, but we also don't want like too different or too weird. I'd say we want solidly normal, timeless, classic names. Our boy name has been picked for a decade, And our girl name has had a lot of debate. So P.S. let me know if you would like the boy version of this video. I'd be happy to do that. But we've known for a million years, well, a million, we've been together for 10. So probably for 9 years, we've known what our future son's name is. Our daughter's name has changed back and forth. Is this gonna be visible? No, perfect. I can like look at my names. Okay, so we're gonna start off with, let's start off with the name I really wanted. So I really wanted the name Amelia. Amelia is a beautiful name. It means work. It has a Latin origin. I don't know if I love that the name means work. We're gonna kind of forget about that. I'm not like a huge name meaning person. Like I'm not opposed, but it's not like the first thing I think of. I love that Amelia is an A name. I have an A name. I really think I've always felt a little bit, almost felt like a little bit of like a superiority with having an A name. It's like top of the alphabet. It's first. I don't know. I've always really liked that. I love that Amelia can be Mia. It reminds me of the Princess Diaries. Like it's just has soft Disney vibes. It's, you know, one of the top 5 names. I know sometimes it's like number 1 or number 4. Right now, according to babynames.com, it is number 4. So the reason Amelia is out, first of all, my husband wasn't super on board with how like flowing and feminine it sounds. But his bigger issue is, so my husband's a lawyer, his legal assistant at work was fantastic. She had a daughter 18 months ago or so named Amelia. And my husband just said to me, I can't have my daughter named the same thing as my assistant's daughter. It's weird. We work very closely together. And I said, I really tried. I'm like, well, they're never going to meet each other. They're not going to be in class together. Like, I really tried, and he just couldn't get over it. And, you know, the big thing with names is, you know, there could be a beautiful name. You know, there's actually a name that I'm not going to point fingers because it'll be, like, really obvious. There's a name of a up-and-coming singer who's on tour with a very famous singer. I'll leave it at that. If you know me, you know. And the name has really grown on me recently, but I had some bad experiences as a kid with someone with that name, and I just can't. So, okay, fine. Next up, I'm gonna go with my husband's favorite name that I shot down, and that is the name Rowan. So Rowan is a gender neutral name. It has Irish origin, and it means little red one. So, why I don't like the name Rowan? Well, it's already kind of said, it's gender neutral, whereas I definitely prefer softer, more flowing names. To me, ultimately, Rowan just doesn't feel pretty. Rowan is probably a really cool girl, and I'm just going to be honest, like, I'm not going to raise a cool girl. I don't know how. I mean, if my daughter ends up being cool, that's on her, but I'm probably going to raise a relatively feminine nerd. And I just think that Rowan is a cool girl name, and I don't know. I just don't envision my daughter as a cool girl. Another name, this was one that my husband quite liked. I liked it, I didn't love it, and that is the name Briar. So Briar is also a gender neutral name, English origin, and it means shrub or small tree. Now I said we could maybe do Briar if her middle name was Rose and her name was Briar Rose. And then I didn't tell my husband about how that was like Aurora or Sleeping Beauty's name. I didn't do that. And then eventually someone clued him in. And so I'm like, yeah, if it's Briar Rose, I'm down for like a soft Disney vibe. But I don't know. I don't love how Briar sounds with our last name. I'm not obsessed. So next up, this was a name. How did that happen? Next up, we have another gender neutral name. I was generally able to get my husband on board with this one. We liked it for a while, and that is the name Addison. So Addison means child of Adam. It's gender neutral and again of English origin. So the name Addison, we liked it for a long time. We really liked the nickname Addie, but the more we kind of mulled it over, and you know, for a while we thought that was the name, the more we mulled it over, the more we realized that it didn't really pass our timeless, not trendy, like, check. Like, we just felt like it's kind of a trendy name, and, well, it's beautiful, it's kind of cool, it's pretty, it's fun, like, I think it's a confident name. Like, there's a lot of things I like about Addison, but I just felt like, I don't know, I just felt like it would be like a very 2020s name, you know, like in like the 2040s. Like, be like, oh yeah, Addison, like obviously you're 22. Yeah, I don't know. It just felt like it was going to be more of a trend than timeless. So that's why Addison had to go by the wayside. If you're noticing a lot of A names, I'd say for the longest time I was pretty firm that we were only looking at A names. So another name, this was more one that I really liked as a teen, but it didn't make its way to us as an adult, is Audrey. Audrey is a female name, again, of English origin, and it means noble strength. I definitely in high school had like an Audrey Hepburn phase. I definitely dressed up as her for Halloween. Definitely took photos of me, like imitating famous photos of her. And I just thought it was like the most classy, beautiful name for the longest time. I'm not saying I would never use it. I don't know. It just didn't feel special to me. It didn't have that like, yes, that's my daughter's name feeling. So Audrey was something I loved a lot as a teenager. But I feel like my tastes have evolved since then. So next up, we have a name that, again, I loved in high school, and that is the name Natalie. So it is a French origin, a female name, and it means born on Christmas Day. I would say the biggest reason, I love Christmas, by the way. It's like my favorite time of year. Like, I'm so ready to ditch, we'll move the pumpkin over a bit. So ready to ditch the pumpkin and like put my Christmas decor up. But when I realized that Natalie, like I loved the sound of it, but when I found out that Natalie means born on Christmas Day, I just said like, what's the odds that I have a Christmas baby? And I don't know, something just kind of felt off to me about the idea of naming someone Natalie if the name means born on Christmas Day, but she's not born on Christmas Day. So I'd say that is probably the biggest reason. Also, my husband doesn't really like the name. Another name that I really enjoyed, like looking at the meanings while we go, is the name Emily. Now, it's probably not surprising that if you like Amelia, you probably like Emily. Female name, English origin, means rival. That's a lot of fun. You know, I just think Emily is, again, a really pretty, classic, timeless name. I think of Emily Post. I think of Emily Gilmore. But I also just think of girls I knew growing up named Emily. And they were always just really nice, really sweet, just like nice people, you know? And what I liked about Emily is that when I see the name, I see people about my own age named Emily. I know children named Emily. And then I can also think of like graceful people like Emily Post or Emily Gilmore. And just, to me, what that says is that Emily is a name that ages well and doesn't feel childlike. Anyways, I loved it. My husband didn't feel like it was a strong name. Clearly, he needs to go back and rewatch the Gilmore Girls because he would find out that Emily Gilmore is a very strong woman. Okay, so those are probably the names that I loved. The next three are names that are close to where we're going, but that I don't like for different reasons. So first up, this may come as a shocker, is the name Elizabeth. So Elizabeth is of Hebrew origin, it's a female name, and it means God is my oath. And this name is interesting because it's biblical, but it's also very royal, very regal. We think of Queen Elizabeth II, but we also think of Queen Elizabeth I. And I mean, I love Queen Elizabeth II, but for Queen Elizabeth I, like, you know, at that time to be ruling as a female leader, like, that, I'm impressed. Like, I mean, I've always enjoyed reading about the Tudors. I like Elizabeth as the long form name, but I like Ellie or like Ella as nicknames, but I find that like if your name's Elizabeth, you're gonna probably end up being a Beth, a Liz, or a Lizzie. And I don't like any of those nicknames. I don't mind Betty, but I don't love it. I mean, I like Betty better because of Taylor Swift now, but Eliza's cute, Ellie, Ella, those are all cute, but yeah, I hate the Liz, Lizzie, and Beth. It just, I don't know, doesn't feel pretty to me. Otherwise, I like that Elizabeth is a long and full name. I like that it's timeless, classic, regal. Like, these are all great things. But I also worry that as someone who really loved Queen Elizabeth II, that would look a little bit fangirly, like so recently after her passing. So yeah, it just, I don't know, Elizabeth didn't quite feel right to us. following down the line from Elizabeth, we have Charlotte. So Charlotte is of French origin, also a female name, and it means free. So again, with Charlotte, we have, you know, lots of like literary connections, but also again, a very regal name. So here's the deal with Charlotte. I like Charlotte in a British accent. I do not like how it's pronounced in the Canadian or the American like accent. I don't really like, please don't fall. What is happening? How? It was years. It's been set up like that for 2 years and twice in this video. Yeah, I just don't like how Charlotte sounds. And I don't like how my mouth moves when I say it. And I don't like, and then I also have this thing where it's like, Charlotte Tilbury is my favorite makeup brand. If you're familiar with my channel, you know. And like, does it look weird and fangirly to name your daughter Charlotte when your YouTube channel is like largely about Charlotte Tilbury makeup? It'd be kind of weird, right? And then on top of that, like a little fangirly after Princess Charlotte. So yeah, I love it for British people. Don't love it here in Canada. And last we have the name Sophie. So Sophie is of French origin, it's a female name, and it means wisdom. So for the longest time, I'm talking for years, we thought that Sophie would be the name for our future daughter. But it's different. It's like once you get pregnant, you find out it's a girl. Like you have this like huge weight of responsibility on you for naming a person. And it didn't feel like right to either of us. So we have a name that we're really both quite happy with. It's a name that definitely has family connection for me, along with a middle name that has family connection for both of us. And I just never really considered this name. And then my husband just kind of said, oh, hey, like, I don't mind this name. What do you think? And I was like, oh, it honestly never occurred to me. So I think that's the one we're going with. We do have a backup. The backup one, what I will say is that Addison was the starting point, and the backup name we got to through Addison. Like it had things that we liked from Addison, but better. I hope that makes sense. I'm not going to share whichever one we don't use, I'm probably not going to share, because if we ever had a second daughter, I think that we'd use that. So we like them both a lot. Anyway, so those are 10 baby names that we love, won't be using. I think I'm going to film a boys version. Let me know if you'd like to hear a boys version. I think the boys version is really interesting for us because my favorite all-time boy name happens to be my husband's grandfather's name, and my husband was named after his great-grandfather, and he's always liked the idea of naming a son after what would be our son's great-grandfather, my husband's grandfather. And I just feel so incredibly blessed that my favorite all-time boy name happens to be the name of my husband's grandfather. Like, that would have been difficult if I didn't like the name, but it's my favorite name. So I'm like, yeah, sure, great, done. And so I will say one thing in the back of our mind, the name for our daughter, we've always wanted to make sure that it kind of matched the vibe, the pace, the tone of our boy name. I mean, we might never have this, that we could have like 5 daughters. I mean, we're not gonna have 5, but you know, we could just have girls, we could have a mix, but I really wanted to make sure that our girl name would jive with the boy name that we've always had picked and that my husband has his heart set on, and like, thankfully, the name he has his heart set on. My favorite all-time boy name. So anyways, those are some of our considerations. I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments below what names you love but didn't use. What were some of your considerations when picking a name? I'm so excited for her to be here so we can share her name with you. But it took a lot longer than I thought to get to this point. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video. And a quick update on the nursery. It's been painted. The accent wall is going up soon, which means that I'm going to start nesting content, and I can't wait. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Bye. Mwah.